Hello.
Hello.
Today we're going to Cripple Creek, which is an old historic town in Colorado, and we're going to go on a mine tour.
You get to go down into the mine.
To go down into an old gold mine, 1,000 feet underground. So we're excited. So apparently the big thing in Cripple Creek is the casinos, and that's all you can really find here, which is unfortunate. Okay, we are at the Cripple Creek gold mine. It's actually called the Mollie Kathleen mine. We're getting loaded on. Take a look at this sign.
I'll be talking on the way down the shaft. There's a little speaker up there, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. And we're going to load up on this bottom cage, and then we're all going down together here. So just make sure you keep your fingers in. Don't stick your fingers out. So, okay. All right, so here we go. If you three want to come on in, we got plenty of room this time. We're all good.
Wow, it's loud.
Okay, and I'll be talking on the way down the shaft here. So this is the main shaft on the Mollie Kathleen, and this is a 2-compartment shaft. We're riding in the haulage side, so we haul all the rock up out of this side of the shaft, and we also haul the miners and the equipment up and down on this side. And over here in front of us to the south, there's another compartment. That is called a manway, and that is a series of ladders that runs all the way from the surface down to the 1,000-foot level. So if there's ever a problem with a hoist breaking down or a power outage or something along that line, we can climb up out of the mine on those ladders. And if you're in good shape, it takes about an hour, hour and a half to climb out of the mine on that 1,000 feet of ladder. So we don't want to do that today. And in the shaft here, we cut levels on the average about every 100 feet apart. So when you see these lights going by, well, those are the different levels. And that's where we mine back in there looking for the veins of gold. There you go.
That was kind of crazy.
Good. Stand right over there by that sign.
Wow. How many people do you usually fit in there?
Oh, usually 7 or 8. So.
Oh, what?
Like sardines.
That was tight with 4.
Oh. You're doing good, Abby, right in there. That's perfect right there. And this type of mining down here is referred to as hard rock mining as opposed to like coal mining. As you notice, there's no timber in down here. It's very solid rock. It's Pikes Peak granite. So it takes a lot of drilling and blasting to get this rock out of here. And those old timers back in the 1890s, they did all that work by hand, if you can imagine. So you're back in the 1890s, they were working by candlelight. So each miner was allowed 3 candles at the beginning of his shift. And so between the two of them, they'd have 6 candles to last the entire day. And to give you an idea what that's like, so if you can imagine trying to hit that piece of drill steel on this kind of light weight, again, you had to have good aim. And my dad, when he started working in the mines here back in the 1930s, they used the carbide light at that time, and the calcium carbide, it comes in those cans there, and you fill the bottom half of this lamp with a carbide, which is like little gray granules. You fill this about 3/4 full, and then you fill the top half of the lamp with water, and you open up this regulator, and the water drips down onto that carbide, and it forms an acetylene gas, and it puts a nice flame out the burner here about 2-3 inches long, and with that reflector on there, it puts out a nice light. So after we blast for that rock, it's all broken up like this rock you see back in here, and that broken up rock, we call that muck, and you have to shovel the muck up into the ore car, and then once you get that car full of rock or muck, you take it back out to the main shaft to be hauled up out of the mine. Well, you've got the camera, so now he has to go to work, so come on over, sir. Let me get a picture of you, and just get right behind here, and right back here, and then just start pushing as hard as you can. Come on, there you go, push, come on.
Go,
there you
go,
You're
go,
doing
go.
good, push, there you go. Hey, you're doing good, all right, good job. Let's give him a round of applause.
Yay.
All right, there you go, you did real good. So, whew. And I was being unfair to you there because you were pushing that uphill. When we put this track in here, we put it in here on a 1% downhill grade to the shaft. So when you have a full car of muck like this, where you're actually going downhill to the shaft, and then when you come back with an empty, while you're pushing up that 1% grade back into the heading with an empty car. And I should mention, at today's gold price, the last time I checked, the gold was right around $1,200 an ounce. But anyway, at today's gold price, if we can find 1/4 of an ounce of gold and a ton of rock, we can make a profit at that. And so this is 1 ton of muck here, and 1/4 of an ounce of gold will be about the size of this coin. So if we can find that amount of gold in this 1 ton of rock, we can still make a profit. So And this is a really old machine. It's very heavy and awkward. It weighs about 200 pounds, and every time you want to drill a new hole, you have to move it up and down on that column and side to side. So, and I'll go ahead and show you the drifter, and this thing's loud too, so you want to plug your ears because it's loud. But all right, that's enough of that. But anyway, it both hammers that drill steel to the rock and rotates it, and it drills the hole out pretty quickly. And like I say, the purpose of drilling the holes into the rock is to load our dynamite in. And so this is called a round here. This is a 23-hole round. And the way this works is right here in the center. These 5 holes here are what we call a 5-hole burn, or what we call the cut holes. And we always leave this center hole open so that when the dynamite goes off, or the rock has somewhere to break to. So these are the first 4 shots to go off, and they go off all at the same time. And after that cut goes off, where there's a hole in the center of the rock here about 14 inches in diameter and 6 foot deep. And then once the cut goes off, these other shots start going off one at a time. And on the very bottom, those 3 holes are called lifters. And after all these other shots get through going off, that rock is broken up a lot like the rock I showed you back there. And the lifters pick up all that broken rock and throw it out here about where we're standing. So. And a lot of people have never seen dynamite, but this is a stick of dynamite here. And dynamite is virtually harmless without a blasting cap. And so that's this little silver cap here. And so that's what's dangerous. You take the blasting cap and you put it on the end of the fuse and you crimp it on there with these pliers. And those old timers, if they didn't have a pair of those crimpers along, they'd take that blasting cap and they'd stick it in their mouth and crimp down it with their teeth to make sure it stayed on. But and you take this loading stick, it's what we call a tamping stick, and you pack that dynamite in there really tight, because if you don't pack the dynamite in, when the shot goes off, the dynamite just flies out of the hole and it doesn't break the ground like it's supposed to. So, and this fuse here, it burns a foot every 45 seconds, so you want to make sure those fuses are long enough so you can get the heck out of here after you light them before those shots start going off. So on a round like this, where the fuses would be anywhere from 8 to 10 feet long. And once you get them all lit for this round, we would head back out by the main shaft, and we stand out there at the shaft and we count the shots as they're going off. We want to make sure that all that dynamite explodes before we leave the mine for the day. And right through here, especially that magnesium sulfate, it does look like snow or snow crystals, but it's all salt, so it's like a blizzard went through here. Here on the Mollie Kathleen, it's not exactly like what you see on TV. That's the vein going right up through there where my light is shining. And that real dark area up there right below that timber, it almost looks black, but it's actually a dark purple. And it's in this piece of rock here too. And that purple rock is called fluorite, or the old timers call it fluorine. And that's a very good indicator of gold-bearing ore. Anytime we find that purplish rock like that, well, there's usually gold with it. And this will give you a good idea of what stope mining is all about. So, they mine from this level up to the 900-foot level, and then from the 900 up to the 800-foot level, and just keep mining up on that vein of gold until it plays out up there. And to go to work every day, you have to climb up those ladders, and then once you get up there, you can see where the miner's at up there with his drilling machine, and he had to get that machine up there, so he had a helper down here on the level, and the helper's called a nipper, kind of like a gopher, and the nipper would tie that machine onto a rope, and then the miner had to pull it up there hand over hand where he's working. And sometimes you're working up there 80 or 90 feet off of the level, and so to pull that heavy machine up there for 80 or 90 feet, well, you're pretty worn out before that even starts. But later on, they came up with this little hoister, it's called a tugger, and this helped the nipper get the tools up into the stope, and this is really self-explanatory, but I'll go ahead and show you the tugger, and this is not too loud. Here's another one of those copper stalactites, just like a green icicle there, but it's all that copper sulfate. And this car over here, no offense, it's called a man trip. We're going to take a little ride on the man trip, so wherever you want to sit on there. The kids like to sit up front, so go ahead, Ivy. You want up front there? You're the only kid here, so here we go. All right, yeah.
I don't know about that.
$4 a day for working out there. And if we just stand back here, I'll show you how we dump that ore bucket. And this is not too loud. So. And so you can see how that apron picks up that chain on the bottom of the bucket and then just tips the bucket over and dumps the rock out. So pretty clever idea, whoever came up with that. I'll go ahead and pick it back up again now. out here to the ball guy and we'll eat our lunch and count the shots as they're going off. So this is the original Hardrock cafe here. And when we do blast at noon, there's a lot of dust and powder smoke in there, and so this is part of our ventilation system here. It's called an airbag or a vent bag. And then this is our bell system here. This is how we communicate with the hoistman up on top to go up and down the shaft. And they made this fairly standard in all the hard rock mines around the western United States, because if you're like Nick, Nick was a tramp miner, and he worked at a lot of different mines, and if they would have had a different bell system on every mine, it would have been really confusing. And to go out to the mine today here on the Mollie, what we give the hoistman is just a little simple 3-1, which is men on and hoist, and that means we want to go all the way through the top. So pull down really hard. Pull down. See, you did good. See, that's perfect. All right, good job. We want to go up. We don't want to get down. We've already had our bath today, so we want to stay out of the sump. But a lot of people, they think this cage is moving pretty fast, but actually this is really slow on some of the big mines, like that Crescent mine my dad worked on. When the Crescent had a steam-operated hoist on it, the muck skip over there would go up down the shaft at a rate of 3,000 foot a minute, 6 times as fast. So, and that's what they'd haul the muck at. They would slow down for the miners because 3,000 foot a minute is really moving, and you'd end up losing your breakfast. And this is probably not a good time to talk about the cable breaking, but if the cable does break right above our head up here, those are called dogs. They're spring-loaded safety dogs, and they automatically set into the timber, and they stop this cage very abruptly. It's a very quick stop, but it's better than going to the bottom of the shaft. We don't want to test those dogs out, so we won't talk about the cable. If you look, there we go. I hope it's not snowing. It's not snowing.
We made it. We just got back up from the Mollie Kathleen mine, and the elevator ride was definitely the scariest thing.
It was so small.
It was so small, and it bumped around the whole time, and oh, he talked about the chains breaking and stuff, and okay, anyway. Once we got down there, it was super awesome though. There's lots of video, so this one's probably going to be a long one.
It's hard to imagine being down there for 8 hours a day, working, like
It'd be
hard labor,
miserable.
like
But
climbing and
they got a lot of gold out of that mine. Oh yeah, we got some too.
we're gonna go home and do some cooking.
We only have to heat it up to what?
1,800 degrees.
1,800 degrees. All right, let's see how that works out. Okay, this is called the Grassy Valley Mining Overlook, but I don't think they left any grass. We get to go up on this thing as a lookout. Look at these rocks they put in here. That's a truck way down there. Ooh, that's further down than I thought.